Hello, ngathi kude masilovelako namhlanje la. Ezini kude ama-participants lamanye. Okay, okay. Alright. Hello. Ncesi 115. Ngidiscover nyalo yes sengisendile. Yes sengicorrectile ngicanga bangibuyisa i-receive yes. Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Yes, sorry, I'm so sorry for any inconvenience caused. I was unable to. Yes, I read the ID wrongly, so I'm so sorry for the inconvenience.
Yeah, okay then.
Can we continue now?
Yes.
Can we proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for the inconvenience. So we are continuing from where we ended last time. I think you still remember the meaning of educational psychology. Do you still remember the meaning of educational psychology? I hope you do. It is a discipline that is concerned with teaching and learning processes. It applies methods and theories. So today we're moving on to the research methods that are used in educational psychology. Educational psychologists design and conduct many different kinds of research studies to understand and improve learning. So these are the research methods that educational psychologists use. The first one is descriptive studies. Descriptive studies are studies that collect detailed information about specific situations, often using observation, surveys, interviews, recordings, or a combination of these methods. Descriptive approaches include ethnography, participant observation, and case studies. So now I want to define these approaches. Ethnography. It is a descriptive approach to research that focuses on life within a group and tries to understand the meaning of events to the people involved. The second one, participant observation. This is a method for conducting descriptive research in which a researcher becomes a participant in the situation in order to better understand life in that group. The other one is case studies. A case study is an intensive study of one person or a situation. It investigates in depth how a teacher plans courses or how a student tries to learn specific material. So that is the descriptive studies. That is what psychologists use to improve learning, teaching and learning in the classroom. So these are the research methods. You are continuing with the research methods. Correlation studies. This is a number that indicates both the strength and the direction of a relationship between two events or measurements. Another one is experimental studies. Research method in which variables are manipulated and the effects recorded. In this one, it is clear as it is an experiment. An experiment is done. That is a research method in which the variables are manipulated and the effects are recorded. The single subject experimental studies. This is a systematic interventions to study effects with one person, often by applying and then withdrawing a treatment. Microgenetic studies. These are detailed observation and analysis of changes in a cognitive process as the process unfolds over a period of time. The last one is action research. Systematic observations or tests of methods conducted by teachers or schools to improve teaching and learning of their students. So as we continue with the course, we are going to use action research to check our pupils in class, how they learn, how they improve their learning, how they do their work in class. That is action research. We're going to use that one as time goes on. So now we are moving on to the theory of educational psychology. Last time when we defined educational psychology, we said this discipline is concerned with teaching and learning processes. It applies methods and theories. So now we're moving on to the theories for educational psychology. Maybe before we go deeper, I would like to define theory. Theory is an integrated statement of principles that attempt to explain a phenomenon and make predictions. This is an integrated statement of principles that attempt to explain phenomenon and make predictions. Just a lot of things, a lot of principles here are integrated in order to explain the phenomenon, and later on predictions are made. That is a theory. So there are many theories to explain human development, learning, motivation, and teaching, and many different ways to organize these theories. So the work of Piaget is a psychologist, Freud and Erikson. They provide examples of stage theories. Other psychologists focus on learning and use concepts of learning to explain motivation and development. Examples of the other theories are behaviorism, information processing, and the social cognitive theory. Finally, many theories today, including theories of Vygotsky and Brenner, emphasizes the role and social and historical context. So, any question? As we continue, we will talk about the theories of Piaget. We'll also talk about Vygotsky's theories and Freud's theories. So maybe before we talk about those theories, let us first define development. What is development? It is an orderly, adaptive changes we go through from conception to death. So there are different kinds of development. Human development can be divided into a number of different aspects. There is physical development, personal development, social development, and cognitive development. Physical development is defined as the changes in the body structure and the changes in body structure and function is physical development. So as we teach the children in class, we will know after this, after everything, after doing everything on educational psychology, you will know when teaching the kids that the changes in their bodies, they affect in a way their teaching and learning. Personal development. These are changes in personality that take place as the changes in personality. We look deeper on personality as we move on. Social development. These are changes over time in the ways we relate to others. Social development. So the last one is cognitive development. These are the gradually orderly changes by which the mental processes become more complex and sophisticated. It deals with the mind. So that is cognitive development. So these are this is development and the kinds of development which we will discuss at length as we move on. Now, let us move on to the principles of development. How does development take place? We must know these 3 points, that people develop at different rates. Children in class are not the same. They develop at different rates. So in a classroom, a teacher may have a whole range of examples of different developmental rates. For example, some students will be larger, better coordinated, or more mature in their thinking and in social relationships, while others may be slower to mature in these areas. So this shows that people develop at different rates. They may be larger, they may be better coordinated, others may be more mature than others, and others may be slower, even to grasp anything that you teach them. He may be, the child may look older, larger, or better, more mature, but when it comes to learning, that child may be slower in grasping the information which you want to teach. Number 2, development is relatively orderly. There is order in development. People develop abilities in a logical order. That is, in infancy, they sit before they walk. And at school, they master addition before division, meaning development is orderly. There is order in development. Number 3, development takes place gradually. That means changes rarely takes place overnight. For example, a student who cannot manipulate a pencil may well develop this ability. The change is likely to take time. That is the 3rd point on the principles of development. People develop at different rates. Development is relatively orderly. Development takes place gradually. So those are the principles of development. This will help us as teachers to know that if you enter a classroom, the kids, the children, the students are going to meet there are different. The development principles are helping us to know that as teachers. So now we're moving on to the brain and the cognitive development. So the cortex is the part of the brain that is associated with high mental functions. High mental functions are found in the cortex. The cortex is a crumbled sheet of neurons. Those are nerve cells that store and transfer information. That serves 3 major functions. So we know we use the brain to think. Everything starts with the brain. So if the brain is not functioning well, it will not be easy for anyone to grasp any information. So there is the cortex in the brain is the nerve, this is a sheet of neurons that store and transfer information. So it serves 3 major functions: receiving signals from sense organs, such as visual or auditory signals, controlling voluntary movement, and forming associations. That is done in the cortex. It receives signals from sense organs, such as visual or auditory signals, control voluntary movement, and forming associations. The part of the cortex that controls physical motor movement develops first. Then the areas that control complex senses, such as vision and hearing. And lastly, the frontal lobe, which controls higher order thinking processes. That is the brain and cognitive development. So now we're moving on to Piaget's theory of cognitive development. Moving into Piaget's theory of cognitive development. I said we will do the theories of Piaget, Freud, and Erikson. Piaget's theory is on cognitive development. Piaget's theory of cognitive development is based on the assessment that people try to make sense of the world and actively create knowledge through direct experiences with objects, people, and ideas. Piaget's theory of cognitive development is based on the assessment that people try to make sense of the world and actively create knowledge through direct experiences with objects, people, and ideas. The main influences of cognitive development. Piaget identified 4 factors that influence the way thinking processes and knowledge develop. He identified 4 factors that influence the way thinking processes and knowledge develop. Those factors are maturation, activity, social transmission, and equilibration. In response to these influences, thinking processes and knowledge develop through changes in the organization of thought. That is the development of schemes through adaptation, assimilation, and accommodation. Those are the influences of cognitive development. That is Piaget's theory of cognitive development. It has 4 factors: maturation, activity, social transmission, and equilibration. So maybe before we move on to the 4 stages of development, I would like you to help define adaptation. I want you to find the meanings of adaptation, assimilation, and accommodation. So I would like you to find the meanings. So when we meet, you will define those terms. So you please do that for me. So we're moving on to the stages, Piaget's stages of cognitive development. Piaget believed that young people pass 4 stages as they develop. They pass 4 stages as they develop. That is his theory. 1, sensory motor. That is a stage between birth to 2 years. Infants in this stage explore the world through their senses and motor activity, and work towards mastering object permanency and performing goal-directed activities. It is sensory motor, a stage between birth and 2 years. It is sensory motor stage. You have to work out the characteristics of the sensory motor. The sensory motor is a stage between birth and 2 years. So you have to find out the characteristics of a child from birth to 2 years. How do such kids live? Here, I've just given you something like infants explore the world through their senses. They sense things and motor activity. Then they work towards mastering object permanence and performing goal-directed activities. Pre-operational stage. This is a stage between 2 to 7 years. In this stage, symbolic thinking and logical operations begin. Here again, I will ask you to do the characteristics of children in this age. How do they socialize? How they do things? Those are the characteristics. So you will find out the characteristics of a pre-operational stage children. Number 3, concrete operational. That is 7 to 11 years. Children in this stage can think logically about tangible situations and can demonstrate conservation, reversibility, classification, and seriation. That is the concrete operational stage. Most of our children in the primary school are between 6 years and 12 years. Most of them are in this stage, the concrete operational stage. They can think logically about tangible situations and can demonstrate conservation, reversibility, classification, and estimation. The 4th stage is formal operational. It is from 12 years and up. In this stage, children are able to perform hypothetical deductive reasoning, coordinate a set of variables, and imagine other worlds. These are adolescents, 12 and up. They are able to perform hypothetical deductive reasoning. They can reason. They can give predictions. They can even give you advice at their age, because in this stage, they are able to perform hypothetical deductive reasoning. They can even imagine other worlds. That is the formal operational stage. These are the 4 stages of cognitive development as per Piaget's theory. So now we're moving on to limitations of Piaget's theory. Piaget's theory has been criticized because adults and children think in ways that are inconsistent with the notion of invariant stages. Piaget, in his theory, he talks about the stages. Children grow in stages. They do things according to their stages. So that is, it appears that Piaget underestimated children's cognitive abilities. He insisted that children could not be taught the operations of the next stage, but had to develop them on their own. He talks about the stages of development. Children, the first criticism he gets is that he underestimated the children's cognitive abilities. He insisted that children could not be taught the operations of the next stage, but had to develop them on their own. The second limitation, he overlooked cultural factors in child development. In his theory, he never mentioned anything on other things, other factors that can affect a child's development. He doesn't talk about the family, he doesn't talk about the friends around the child, he only talks about the stages. He's concerned on the stages. So that is why he is criticized as having overlooked cultural factors, the other factors that can affect a child's development, whereas there are other things that can affect a child's development. It cannot be the age. The child can be in a concrete stage, but due to the people around that child can be hindered in some way when doing things. The third criticism he gets, the most criticized aspect of Piaget's theory is that of formal operational stage. Okay, so let's go for a short break now. We'll come back again. We'll come back at, I'll come back to you at 3:45. Thank you.